10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. It's Saturday, September 24th. I'm Doug, and joined again today, Dr. Bill.
Hey.
Bill, we done yet?
Yeah. How long have we been talking? We've been talking for...
Let me see. We started late, but we still got in our 2 hours.
2 hours and 20 minutes. And that's it for today. So thank you for everyone for showing up and listening to this live streamcast of Alien Probe Podcast. And watch the skies. And catch us next time on our next live stream.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a live stream. I'm getting pressure. to do a live stream, so we're going to have to do it. And I was going to try reading something, but I
can't
it's
see.
Too light. I can't do it. I can't see. My knee hurts. I'm having a bad knee this week. Had to go to the doctor yesterday. Had my X-ray. Got some really mild drugs to help me.
Did you go, Doc, give me anything. Just give me anything. You're giving me this? And he's going, just chew some valerian root.
He said, what do you want? I felt like I was talking to this three-quarter truck dealer. I go, well, I don't want anything too heavy because I have to think. I have to think for a living. I have to think to do this. And, well, kind of. And I go, just give me something a little bit better than Motrin. Just a tiny, I just need to sleep because it's so bad. I can't. It hurts when I'm not even on it. So, how's your health?
Doing all right.
How are you doing?
How's your back? All right.
How's your back doing?
It's doing all right. Well,
right. So
it is what it is. It
Okay.
hangs in. It
All
hangs in there. Does what it does, but it's not too bad.
Well,
I haven't done anything stupid.
Before we scare everybody off, better start talking about some UFO stuff and current affairs things. I know.
Let's do.
Or you want to start with some foreign affairs? Or you want to do some Roswell?
Let's do. Well, let's place.
Omni.
Let's place ourselves in context. Did you say the date?
Yes, I did. September 24th.
Yeah, I'm not paying
2022. I don't think I said the year.
Okay. So we have the war in Ukraine, where the Ukrainian president is saying nuke Russia now. We have Russia, which is saying
That's fun.
Yeah, Russia, which is saying we will use nuclear weapons, and then we have the president saying Russia bad. We will use nuclear weapons too. So that's a plus. And then something weird.
We were just talking about how my son is learning Russian. I go, what are you learning Russian for? And you should really be learning Spanish. It's more valuable to be bilingual for that. And then as I said that, I went, we might be speaking Russian. I don't know. Go ahead and learn Russian. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
He's learning it for the upcoming apocalypse. And I was looking at there's an animation of a nuclear strike done by, I think, Cornell University.
Oh, how's it going to go? Are we okay?
No,
I'm not going to be because I'm we're the bases up here.
No, we're screwed. But a lot of most of Russia isn't even targeted because all their industry and cities are in the far west. So the rest of the country looks good. So maybe that's why he should learn Russian, because he can just move there.
Yeah,
it might be, and it'll be new colonies. What else is happening? Artemis rocket.
Before we get away from Russia, what are they doing with is this a draft? He's running out of soldiers and he's drafting people now, or
300,000 men, 30 to 50 with previous combat training.
Is it automatic, or is it? I know they're having some protests over there now when they've gotten to this level.
Yeah, the footage I've seen that is like there's 15 people getting angry and arrested, and then they hand them their papers for the draft and they go anyway. Apparently they're saying the airports are booked up with people trying to get out, and people are marrying single women and doing some other stuff to get out of being called up. But it is what it is.
If you're married, you don't have to go. That's pretty easy out.
I'm not sure what there are exemptions, but they'll get their 300,000 conscripts and their previous reservists. I guess you're in the reserves until you're 50, but they're all 30 years. They're all And most of them, they're saying they're pulling up men with previous combat experience. So they're not. There's people that they don't have to do minimal training. They just got to put a uniform on them and have them go to work.
Yeah. Here's a gun. There's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot. Like I said last
Comrade.
week, a lot of friendly fire
Did you hear the story?
incidents.
Did you hear the story about the Russians captured a Ukraine tank where the crew had been welded inside?
I think you sent me that. So
I did.
they welded
This is what the Russian.
So they were Ukrainians were inside.
Yeah.
So they welded them in there.
Apparently there was a Russian tank destroyer, and they were watching this tank, and it was doing weird stuff. I think they'd taken out a couple other tanks, and this tank was, I think the turret was facing backwards and wiggling back and forth weirdly, and they're like watching this thing, and they're like getting ready to blow it up because I think it was an 80 millimeter 80 millimeter or something tank destroyer. And so the Russian crew is like, they're getting ready to blow it up, and they're like watching this tank, and it was just doing weird stuff. It's like the turret was wiggling back and forth and going up and down, facing backwards. And so I guess they went up to it and they looked at the tank, and they said that the crew had been welded inside the tank.
Well, who welded them in? They didn't do it themselves, right?
The Ukrainians.
The Russians?
The Ukrainians welded a crew into the tank.
They couldn't get in? So
They
people
couldn't
can't
get out.
Inside?
They welded them in the tank and told them to go fight.
Why did the Ukrainian? Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
The crew probably said, we're not going to fight anymore. And they said, screw you, get in the tank. And they put him in the tank and they welded him in, and they said, you have no choice now.
That's new. That's it. That's new.
I don't know if this is the truth. This could be propaganda. I don't know if this could be propaganda, but it's just a wild story. Can you imagine being welded into a tank and just told to go fight?
I'd be freaking out. I wouldn't do anything except in the fetal position. I don't like confined spaces.
They would go.
I wouldn't be in a tank anyway.
Yeah, if you're a tanker
or a submarine.
Well, they probably said,
submarine fan.
Go fight, or we're going to blow you up. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
if it's
in that
true.
Case, okay. Well, let's go. You got to run out of bullets. You're going to run out of shells eventually.
Yeah, and fuel and whatnot.
Fuel, shells. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, what about Roswell, the Final Verdict? I'm kind of sad that it's the last episode because they're not going to do any more because they've.
That's it. Yeah. Well, it was decent.
That's the whole story.
It's a good show. There's a couple other things in the news to just throw out there. The Artemis rocket moon launch.
Yeah. 27th, right?
Maybe. I don't know. They're supposed to decide this afternoon whether they're going to move it back to the barn or not, because there's a So they did a fuel loading on Wednesday that was successful. It's basically a full prep fuel load. They got it, and they solved all the problems they had the previous two times. Now there's a hurricane maybe heading for Florida, and
that's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. So they were going to make a decision this afternoon on whether or not to.
When's it going to hit?
Wednesday.
Fiona's already by you, right?
No, Fiona's gone. That's up in Canada. The new one though, I'm not seeing a news.
What's the new one's name? Florida's already declaring a national disaster.
Ian?
It's not even there yet.
Ian?
No, it has to be after F. Yeah, that would be Ian. But
I forget what
that's of major interest what the name is. But so where's it going to hit? Is my sister? Well, if they're going to wheel the rocket back in, my sister's house probably going to get it.
It is. It's heading right for me.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, your sister will probably be fine.
Well, that's nice.
Right now,
but you're right in the middle, right? I mean, you don't really get. Do you guys get it bad?
Yeah, it can get a little hinky, but it's heading right now. It looks like it's heading pretty much for my house. Your sister will be fine. They're not going to have any problems. I'm going to check a different thing. The other
they do. The
Nope,
projection
nope. The
is saying
projection,
it
it's
means so.
showing it going right over my house right now.
Oh, when's it gonna hit?
Thursday.
You want to do the podcast early?
There may not be any podcast next
Won't
week.
happen.
May not have power next week. The
You have a generator?
no. The Artemis, but they're trying to decide, I guess based on this, they haven't released a press release, but it looks like they'll be able to launch the moon rocket on Wednesday.
Well, it's probably not going to make it anyway, so there's no difference.
Yeah, it's got a 50-50 chance.
No, you're 30. Oh, wait, are you 50-50 on liftoff or 30-70 on liftoff?
Oh, right now
it'll
I would
make
say
it.
80-20.
Oh,
Everything.
oh,
The latest test, everything went really well, and it looks like they'll go. It'll launch. So I
okay.
think there's a good chance it'll be a successful launch. The only hang up now is this hurricane, and I think it looks like they should be able to launch before the hurricane hits. It takes 3 days to move the rocket back into the barn. So
Pretty sure it's gonna lift off, but it's gonna explode before it gets into the upper atmosphere. It's my and I'm thinking I'm still at 70-30 for the thing having a catastrophic failure. Are you there?
I think
I mean,
yeah, I think
what do you think? What do you think?
I think 80-20 on a successful launch. I'm pretty optimistic now. They did a good job on getting it set up to launch. I think it's going to be a go, and I think it's going to work.
I mean, I'll
think
go
it's
with
gonna-
that. I'll
I
go
think
that
it's
it's going to happen. It'll lift off. But
I
what do you
think
think about it making it to the into
I'd say
space?
80-20, 80-20. I'd say there's a really good chance they're going to make it and have a successful mission.
Even with surplus parts
Yeah.
from 50 years ago or whatever.
45-year-old surplus parts, yes.
You're pretty optimistic. You're
right?
a lot more optimistic than I am.
Well, I had the fuel testing up on the computer all day on Wednesday, so I could listen to the updates and all the stuff that was going on. They did a good job, and the fuel leak was dealt with successfully. They did a full fuel loading for both stages, and they I think it's good. I think they got a good chance. The only thing holding them up is if they don't get a successful fuel loading on Wednesday, they may be in trouble because of the hurricane. But right now, it doesn't look like the hurricane's even going to be a problem for them. It looks like it's a problem for me.
I mean, I hope it makes it. My confidence. It's not that I don't want it to make it. I mean, I like the project, but it just seems weird and hokey to me for some reason.
The whole project?
No, just the
surplus
parts thing. I just lost it when they.
Well, that's
we can build
Congress.
anything new. We can build anything new like SpaceX does.
Yeah.
SpaceX can get all the parts they need. Again, like you said, they had failures in the beginning too, but they seem to have it down now.
Yeah.
I mean,
SpaceX.
And the whole thing is that we want to use American. Well, obviously they'll be American. We want to use current contractors and things. I get it, but
SpaceX
we're
is actually
compressing O-rings because we don't know how to stop things at 20 pounds psi. I don't know. It just was odd.
They're doing good. They had a guy at the press conference, the post press conference for the fueling, and the guy was one of the old timers from the shuttle mission. He's a fueling expert. So I don't know if he'd been involved before this or they brought him in because of the problems. I don't, the reporters don't ask these questions because they don't know anything. But yeah, I was wondering.
Did they bring him out of retirement to come back?
They said.
Got a walker? Got a walker?
Well, he said, I've been involved in 100 and blah of shuttle fuelings. So they brought in, I don't know if he's been there or they just trotted him out for the news conference because he was around and they hadn't put him out there before, or I wonder if they brought him in because of the specific problems and they needed an expert, so they brought him out of retirement to do it. But this guy has done over 100 shuttle launches, and he was like their fueling expert for the shuttle.
It's okay. And, 99 of them made it. So it's good.
99. 98.
Well, no, one blew up and didn't have anything to do with that. That's just the
Two.
shuttle itself.
Oh, yeah. Well, the one
It
blew up
blew-
because
it-
of the
it-
O-rings. Yeah, the compressed O-rings on
Well,
the...
that was the 99. That's the one in 99. that
99,
didn't
yeah.
Make it. But,
And the other one was ice just knocking off the tiles, so they had to burn through. Nice.
yeah, that was, yeah. So, I mean, that's when we allegedly knew what we were doing. Now it's kind of like,
I'm optimistic.
when you're talking about hiring, well, of course, scientists are different than regular people. When you talk about hiring, I hope.
No, it's like as long as you're
There's
the
still
right,
people.
as long as you have the right political belief system, you're fine.
And the right diploma. So,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know.
I just saw a study which is insane that said most professors at universities come from only like a handful of universities. Given the number
Yeah.
of programs and universities in this country, it's insane. So it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. They're not hiring the best people. They're hiring the names, the credentials.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
which is what they do. That's the way things are done. I mean, I've seen that. I
Yeah.
saw that. I've been seeing that my whole life.
You don't want that Chico State diploma hanging over you.
Yeah.
Is Chico State one of
No.
them?
Oh, God. It was so insane. When I was lucky I got hired to one of the first
Well,
biotech
you went
companies.
to a prominent university.
I went to a
prominent
very
university.
basic university, and I was lucky to get hired at the biotech company I really wanted to work for. And that was Cetus, and that's
Yeah.
where Kerry Mullis invented PCR, and then they treated Kerry Mullis like garbage. Even the scientific community treated it like garbage. But I was lucky to get hired there, and the only reason I got hired is because my boss went to the same college that I did. Everyone else, when anybody they hired went to, they were either from UC Berkeley or UC Davis, and they wouldn't even look at you if you were from any other school. They wouldn't even consider you. It's like grades didn't mean anything. Nothing meant anything. All it meant was the name on the diploma. It's like, and I was like, everybody was just those two. And it was like, they go, "Where'd you go to school?" And I said, "Well, I went to this state school." And they go, "How did you get a job here?" So it was just like, okay, my boss went to the school that I went to and knows that it's a good school and wanted to give something back to her college. So
Odd sort of nepotism, kind of an odd nepotism thing.
Well, yeah,
So being related, you're related by school.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
It is absolutely insane.
How'd
So
your boss get a job there? That's what I want to know.
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. I never asked. She was good though. She knew her stuff. Probably just was lucky like me and got started in the company when it was brand new and they had like 15. She'd been there forever. She was one of the original people to work there. I mean, she wasn't a scientist or anything. She had a master's degree, and she was in charge of like prep. It was basically the lab prep stuff. So
I'm sure she got her job there based on her education and things. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. The place was a zoo anyway. I mean, the CEO just did everything in retrospect. Although you could see it at the time, he did like everything he could to screw the company up. The guy was just incompetent at the highest level.
Yeah.
I mean, just amazingly bad. And he never did anything after that. After he destroyed that company, he like basically just disappeared. I've looked up to see what he's done. And he's just took his stock options and retired basically.
Yeah, it's a game plan.
Crazy
Not
stuff.
horrible.
Yeah, but hey, Kerry Mullis was a great guy. Now he's dead. And he died 2 years ago. Broke my heart. He
How old was he?
76, I think.
Yeah, he was getting there.
Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, brilliant guy. They treated him like garbage. Just treated him like waste. And then his obituary in the Californian, the newspaper for the magazine for the UC Berkeley. The guy I used to work in the same facility. Had a weird facility, so I was around all these senior scientists there. And the one guy senior scientist that hired Kerry Mullis because he knew him at UC Berkeley to work in the facility that I was working in, just wrote this really awful. I don't know if he wrote the thing or they just asked him for comment. They basically just slammed Kerry Mullis. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. It's like, dude, it's like he's the only reason the shitty company you worked for made a penny. And it's like, and he got a Nobel Peace Prize, they're not so president. And he got a Nobel Prize out of it. And they still treated him like crap.
Yeah,
So,
it's kind of unusual talking bad about the dead. Nobody ever does that.
oh, the guy, I
Weird.
mean, it was horrifying. I saw the obituary and like I was reading it and I go, oh yeah, and it's interesting. The guy Mullis had a real interesting background and he's a quirky person and very, very smart. And the guy that hired him is just a piece of shit because he just slammed him in his obituary. And it's like, dude, oh, and it's basically like, I gave him a job, as a favor, because we were graduate students together, and yeah. So it's just weird stuff. And then the other guy that worked there got in. I don't know if Kerry Mullis got this. One of the other guys that worked there, one of the senior scientists, he got was inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame.
Oh,
yeah, it was really cool because since we had like a little meeting and I was in this facility and there's only like maybe 10 people that work there. And so we had like an all hands little meeting in the lunch conference room. And he's like, I want to let everyone know that this award, this induction that I got, this thing for being inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame, which is the patent office does this, doesn't just represent me. It represents all of us. And then they hung the plaque. He got this really nice plaque, and he hung it on the wall outside of the laboratory that was mine that I worked in, because that's where he had done the original work that he had gotten,
Yeah.
this thing for. So they put it on the wall for the room that the work had been done in. And that was really cool because I could walk in there and you got this thing on the wall. It's like, this is really cool. A few years later, they uninducted him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they take his plaque?
I don't know what
I want my plaque back.
I was wishing. I was like, man, I wish I'd taken that plaque when I'd left. But they uninducted him because the patent he had filed was it was developed on work that someone else had already done.
No.
So he
finished it. He finished it. Well,
no, they just copied it. He just copied it, and then they filed a patent and said, and then it got filed, and nobody noticed for a long time. And there's a whole story about that. And this company called Promega was sell this Taq polymerase, and people would use. When I was a student, I used to buy Taq polymerase because it was cheaper than the Perkin-Elmer polymerase, the official polymerase. It was the same stuff, and it was like 1/10 the cost. So I would just buy that and use it because it's like it works. It's the same thing. And the company kept telling Perkin-Elmer kept telling Promega said, you need to stop selling this stuff because you're violating our patent. And Perkin-Elmer or Promega would go, we don't think your patent's valid because it's based on this other work that was done way before you filed your patent. And all we're doing is following the procedures from this previously published paper and selling the product. So Perkin-Elmer sued Promega and they lost. And they lost their patents. And Promega kept saying, just leave us alone. We don't care what you do. Just leave us alone. But Perkin-Elmer sued Promega and Promega won in court. So they lost all these patents. And this guy was unindicted whatever from the Inventors Hall of Fame. You can't even find a record of this anymore. It's just like, and it's like, do I live in a parallel universe where stuff just doesn't, it's just gone down the memory hole? I mean, do I remember a different path or past from everyone else?
You know what they say, Bill. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Oh God.
That's the way it rolls.
Yeah, it was crazy stuff. Good times. So, what else has happening? Moon launch. Weird stuff is happening in China. They're saying there may be a coup happening in China. Uh, the
Oh,
U.S.
really?
is
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, it's new, and the U.S. is pushing for nuclear war again with Russia.
Well, the coup, is it going to be, which way is it going? Is it going to be who wants to take over? Who's launching the coup?
I don't know. It's all new. It's the army.
It's just a coup.
It's the army. There's something going on in China.
Well, I'm concerned that it's going to be the bad guys, the Dr. Evils of China, not the good people that are like, we don't want to launch nuclear war. It's going to be the people like they want war. That's going to be a problem.
Welcome.
Or we want to take over Taiwan. Why haven't they taken Taiwan?
Maybe that's why this is happening, because there's people saying that we should do this and other people saying we shouldn't do this, and it's because of this conflict of
China's so big and Taiwan's so small. Why? I don't understand.
Taiwan can produce.
Just go in there.
Taiwan,
go in there.
Taiwan produces 4 nanometer, I think now even 3 nanometer silicone microchips, and they are. I don't know if the U.S. produces that level. China can't do it, so there's strong incentive to right there to get that technology. Just invade. Well, China will get it anyway. They'll just buy it or they'll steal it.
There's a large microchip company moving in here to Sacramento. They said the average salary is going to be $180,000 a year. So I don't know. I think the people at the top are probably going to be making millions, and the people at the bottom will be making average salary. It's just an average salary.
Well, that's
but it's in Rancho Cordova, which is, I don't know why they're moving there, probably because it's cheap. But it is a microchip company, so it looks like it's good, because I know we've been trying.
Good.
It's going to cost a lot to buy a car if it's for vehicles.
Yeah.
I can't, because I don't have the chip, because, my wife's car was in the shop for 3 months because it didn't have an airbag sensor.
We have a chip.
Oh, we can't get it from Japan. They haven't made it yet.
They haven't made it yet.
Or they haven't unloaded the container. I don't know what a supply problem they had.
Yeah, that's gone away apparently. All the ships have been unloaded and that problem's disappeared.
Oh, is that done?
That's what I've read. Yeah, it's like it's gone. They're like they don't have the big backup anymore at the ports, or they're all shifted the ports to Florida where they could get them unloaded.
I'll have to look at Google Earth. That's old though.
It's Goggle. You have to look at Goggle.
Goggle Earth.
Goggle Earth. It's pronounced Goggle.
Exactly. So I haven't seen it in the pool industry. It doesn't. Not everybody is affected. It depends on where you get your stuff at.
So yeah, we need more microchips and stuff. Although I do love computer technology. It's awesome. So Roswell, the final verdict. We've hit the last episode.
Kind of sad.
It is. It was.
Some interesting things that they started out with the son of, Brazil is still in the cell and he's being unlawfully detained. And Brazil's the rancher. Mac Brazil is still in there, and they're waterboarding him or whatever they're doing. I think it's sleep deprivation. I think is their torture of choice. You don't think they did that, Bill?
They keep saying that they're doing that. And I have a feeling that he did suffer.
Was that false?
He did suffer. Yeah, I did an AI analysis of the thing, and I came up. My AI said false. I don't think he was
sleep.
I don't think he was tortured. I think he was
bullied. severely.
Bullied. Well, he bullied and bribed.
Severe bullying.
He was bullied and bribed. He was bribed.
Yeah,
He
well,
got
they
a
didn't
new.
pull out they didn't pull out the new truck till later, and he was
Yeah.
already depressed.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
they finally apparently they probably bought him off. People said he got a new truck. He started a business. So somehow
yeah.
he got some money.
Well, his son Bill
Bill.
picked up some debris at crash site 1, and he stuffed it in a small cigar box.
Yeah,
So I
like
thought,
that.
remember we talked about, is that stuff still there? But then he said that you know, that we're gonna have it. We're gonna have that stuff, so you might as well give it to us.
Yeah.
It was the debris that, you know, won't crease.
Well, they
You
were
know,
talking.
that's always the thing.
Well, the Roswell Museum in Roswell supposedly has a piece of debris from the field.
I haven't been there. That would be weird. Why? Or so we not analyzed? It's already been analyzed.
I have no idea. There's a
Do they keep it out, or they have a little thing in the back that you have to have a special key for?
yeah, there's a case. There's a display case. I haven't been there. That's what I've heard. There's a display case where supposedly they have a piece of debris.
Like the one they have the crown jewels in. Get this piece of debris in there.
Yeah,
It's got lasers and shit.
like in the
you know, you gotta get. You can't get. It's like Mission Impossible. You can drop down from the ceiling. We have to get that.
yeah, with the air crown jewels. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just in a display case at the museum, Roswell, which we were supposed to go see. But
well, they said Brazil was a changed man, that he was depressed, and well, not, you know, and severely. He wasn't beaten.
Money does change people.
Okay, all right. So you're gonna say it no matter what, unless I buy you a truck. Now, if I buy you a truck,
Yeah,
you know, will you be happy? It's kind of like having a trophy wife. If I buy you that Ferrari, will you stay with me? You know, it's like, I don't know. It's weird.
I think he was. They
He
detained
was
him.
bribed. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt that they bribed him, but that didn't come out until, you know.
He,
Okay, I won't talk, and to ensure that, I'm going to buy you this 1948 Ford F100.
yeah, he might have just been really stubborn and said, "I'm not gonna, I got to tell people." He's just stubborn. He held out, and they finally said, "Okay, what do you want?" And he goes,
If you pay me.
Yeah, and it's like that was that. So they said they detained him for 5 days, which seems like a long time.
So what are they doing? Just
waterboarded him for 5 days, and then
I think sleep deprivation. That's
goes,
most common.
I'm so tired. Just let me
stay
sleep.
awake for 5 days.
Just let me sleep.
Let me sleep. No.
Just let me sleep and give me a bunch of money. Give me some. Give me some bunch of money. And
and listen to this loud rock and roll music.
Yeah. Well, they also had him go to the radio station and re-record his interview and say he didn't say anything. So that was like after day 3.
But then the guy at the radio station says, so you didn't see after it was over and the Men in Black walked away, or goes.
Yeah.
And he says, so you didn't see little green men? And he goes, they weren't green. They were gray.
They were gray. Little gray men.
They were the grays. Well, maybe they're just gray after they're dead. I mean, it's, it happens, how stuff just kind of, maybe it's immediately decomposes.
The de-evolved aliens who don't know how to do anything because the machines do everything for them.
It's, you better not keep putting that out there, that somebody's going to steal your idea.
Oh, I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure somebody's thought of it.
This chair's low.
TM.
I need a new chair. So Marion Strickland, who's she?
Marion Strickland was his neighbor.
You can't tell anybody.
She was the neighbor. She was the neighbor, I think, of Brazil. Returned home, swore to secrecy, kept asking, showed that was his son. What else do I got here? Mary Strickland thinks he was threatened to not talk. And then she talked about him getting a new truck and money and stuff and start a business. So I would definitely say they had to pressure him.
No. Loretta Proctor said he got a new truck, and then they said that was false.
Yeah, came back with a new truck. But he did get a new
And
truck.
he did get a new truck, but why was her statement false? It's weird.
She was saying, I don't know. She said bought up by the government to change his story. I don't know. And then they went back to Glenn Dennis
Dennis,
and
the mortician.
the nurse that disappeared.
Yeah.
Met her for lunch. She talked about the alien autopsy. Said she
drew a
was
picture
deathly
of the
ill.
alien
Yeah, deathly ill. Had to go back to the barracks. They said that is true.
and was never seen again.
And then he tried to contact the nurse. Went to the base. Was told that she had died with five other nurses in a trade mission in a plane crash, and they said that is false.
Right, training incident, plane crash. But
But
then he tried mailing her a letter.
Yeah, came back, said deceased.
That's weird. I've never heard it.
Well, the military military I think would do that with letters. I mean, but this was 1947 or 48. Yeah, that would be fun. You write somebody that you know in the military, and it just comes back with a letter stamped deceased.
That'd work today. You could get a stamp made by your, go to Staples.
Yeah.
Stamp it. You get a letter from somebody you don't like some collection company, and you just stamp it.
Deceased.
Okay, send it back. Return to sender. Oh, they're dead. Never mind.
Well, they were saying that he was lying to protect her identity.
Who was she, and why did they ever did you notice that the name was spoken by one of these people, and they blanked out the name when they said it. Yeah, it was
I didn't
weird.
notice that.
Oh, yeah, and they blanked out the name because they said the nurse something or another, but they were talking. You could tell they said it.
Huh.
And I said, they blanked out the name, and I don't think they ever, she's just referred to as the nurse. So,
Yeah, there was also, the Omni thing that we're going to talk about, we probably won't be able to talk about all of it, but the Omni, November 1994, Project Open book, Omni Search for the Real UFOs. In that this is a long article for Omni that they had in there. They talk about one guy that was going to research the nurses, and it said he had some sort of leads to that. And I was, I don't even know how to look. It doesn't say nurse.
Yeah, does it have the name of the nurse on there?
Yeah, I was just wondering about that.
And why haven't we, well, not us, but why didn't they never mentioned the name, I don't think. And why is that we didn't know the name of the nurse, just nurse?
Well, apparently there was this guy, I've actually got this guy's PhD thesis, which he wrote a thesis on James McDonald and how he was trying to get people to take UFOs seriously and do active research on it. And this guy, Paul McCartney, was intrigued by reports. Paul McCartney, yeah, the Beatles.
Wings.
Yeah.
Wings.
Was intrigued by reports that an Army Air Corps nurse helped autopsy aliens recovered from a UFO that crashed near Roswell and then disappeared. Top Roswell researchers told him they had attempted to find her along with other Roswell nurses to no avail, suggesting perhaps that they had been intentionally deleted from the record for good. McCarthy decided to track the nurses and thus far has had astonishing good luck. Look for his open book report in an upcoming Omni. So we might get something out of that. I haven't looked at these future
How many issues
Omnis.
are left before they killed Omni after this one that you just said?
Well, this is November. I can tell you. This one is November
94, right?
94. Go. I got to go in the library. Come on. There we go. And
I was just kind of curious as I read along this, and they've got that open book. Now they rolled out this open book thing. I go, this is
getting really involved, right?
Yeah. They're getting really involved with this, and people are sending information in.
Yeah.
And and all these pictures, and was thinking this I don't know. It's weird. Back in 94 is pretty recent, though. Don't think it
Well,
could be
for
shut down.
us, it's recent.
Yeah,
The
before 40, well, 30 years, but I
yeah,
guess we could still be doing government could be doing some weird stuff back. You
for
gotta
for
stop
your
talking about this.
for your
I
kids,
mean,
it's
because,
ancient history, except for your oldest.
yeah, except
So
for my oldest,
for your oldest,
Vietnam Robert.
Vietnam Robert, we should
Well,
play
next
some.
week. He's in Nam next week.
We should play.
He's my world
We need.
traveler.
We should play
I
the.
need
Do we
one
have
world
music?
traveler, kid.
Do we have music to go with that?
We should. Yeah.
Yeah, some 60s rock and roll.
Well, I think you could use the Green Berets John Wayne movie. I think they had
Yeah,
one where they were
they
meeting
got
and,
the Green Beret song.
yeah, there was not the green. You could do the Green Beret song. That would be cool.
Apocalypse Now
But
music.
the more likely it would be when they met in Saigon and they had the background music. So
for
typical of, because that movie's pretty old. The music was so typical of the Asian,
oh,
beat.
that twangy music.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was like
yeah, twangy, or
da 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 da.
what people thought was Asian
Yeah,
music.
it's like just throw something in there. They'll never know.
Hollywood Asian music.
Yeah, they're in Los Angeles doing this. Okay.
So the in LA they're filming it. I think they filmed it. That was a good movie, but it was a big propaganda piece.
Awesome movie.
Big propaganda piece. It was a good movie though.
Yeah, sure it was, but it's John Wayne. Come on. He was a racist, but it was the latest thing.
Well,
I think they were trying to
it's-
Me Too him, or what were they trying to? Something happened. He's dead.
I know, I love it. It's like
We're gonna.
he was an evil person. It's like I've started reading Lovecraft stories. So I've just picked up some.
Oh, the Reanimator.
That's
Remember
one
that
of the stories.
movie? That's Lovecraft.
I have that's one of his stories. I haven't read it. I've just read a couple stories. And I got 3 books that are collections of Lovecraft. And I was looking up online, and he had a literary award that they would give for writing. I'm not sure what for. It was like mystery or horror or something. And it had this horrible statue he's got these big bulgy eyes, and he's a funny looking guy anyway. And they've just what did they do? I don't know if you call it meat.
Was that Lovecraft?
Yeah.
And I didn't know what he looked like.
And they like I don't know if they Me Too'd him or he was declared.
Oh God!
He was declared.
They did with John Wayne.
He was declared evil. They said the statement was he was a racist and a terrible wordsmith, and because he wrote a poem and he had the N-word in the poem.
Oh,
and
that'll do it.
So they're like, oh, he needs to. So
that'll do it.
So he's been excommunicated for that. I was thinking about Mark Twain, who has and Tom Sawyer. And it's like, and then they've tried to excommunicate Mark Twain because of he used the N-word in Tom Sawyer, but they're having trouble.
Excommunicated, or they have another term for that. They do something to that.
Canceled.
Yeah, they got to cancel John.
Well, it's a religious.
Mark Twain and John Wayne.
Yeah, well, it's a religious. What do you call it? A program. I mean, the people that are doing this thing are following their personal religion, which is whatever it is. So it is. Yeah. It is they're excommunicated from the proper and the right. But yeah, so
no, they're dead. They don't care.
Yeah, I know. But I've always wanted to read. I've always wanted to read Lovecraft. His stories. You hear about him, and all these people are influenced by him and stuff like that. And so, okay, so I'll pick up some books like that. And then I was looking up some other stuff, and it was like, they got rid of his award because he's a racist. I mean, the guy was a lunatic, and it's like, okay, it's like, okay, so they canceled him because he was a crazy person. So it's like, so these people are against people with mental illness. So it's like, so it's just wrong.
Right.
So yeah, John Wayne. Let's cancel John Wayne. He's dead.
Yeah.
When I see that stuff,
he doesn't care.
Yeah, when I see that, I want to go. He's been dead for 100 years. Do you know dead?
I mean, there'll be a section of there will be a section of people that will Yeah, it'll be fine.
He's dead.
Yeah, it was amazing.
He's dead, Jim.
He's dead, Jim.
So, anyway, for the Omni, we're on November, and then they had November, December, and then there was a January, February, March.
Did we finish Roswell, sir, or do you want to get back to
No,
it?
we got more, but we're sort of jumping around, and
All right,
we've
cool.
lost it at this point.
We lost track.
And
Okay.
then there's a fall and a winter, and the fall one has the big title says "We're back," and then they were back one more issue, and then they completely vaporized. So I know you've been saying, as far as the Omni goes, that you think they were shut down because of this Project Open book.
Yeah.
And I've been going,
Yeah.
I don't know, but the timing is interesting, and I didn't realize because I haven't looked. I've just been pulling these. I managed to compile these issues, and look. I haven't looked at them until like right before we're ready to look at them, to talk about
Yeah.
them, and they're going all out with this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a serious
Yeah.
investigation, and then the magazine vaporizes.
Yeah. It's too much of a coincidence for me
Yeah.
in
So
this. I mean, I don't want to cry. It's a big conspiracy theory, I know, but I mean, it's just too much of a coincidence. But 94 is, I know it's 30 years or
it's a
28, but
long time ago.
it's
The before
it.
history, man.
Yeah, it's not. It's pretty recent. I don't know if the government really, if it was ever brought out that that happened, it just makes it worse for them.
Well,
You
worse
know, for
that
the
the
government, and if it comes out that they were shut down. It's kind of like, and another thing about Roswell that I thought about before
they're
we,
not. Yeah.
um, is that I think they destroyed all the evidence. I don't think, I remember I'm like, it's in a warehouse at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which I know you don't support, but
It's been
um,
too
I
much
think they
attention.
destroyed it. I think they destroyed. I think Truman and Ramey. I think
Yeah,
they.
General Ramey.
I
Yeah.
think they destroy. I think they destroyed the saucer and all the bodies. I don't think we're. I think we all of in the community think that it was, they're stored and we're going to find them like Indiana Jones in the Crystal Skull episode. But I think they
Yeah.
just I was thinking about that today as I watched the final episode and it wrapped it up, is
Oh
that
yeah. Yeah.
I think they don't want, the last thing they want is for someone to run across that stuff and once and for all showing that the government actually covered that up. They don't want that. It has to go away, like things
You
go
know,
away.
there's I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you on this but there's a weird sort of way people think about stuff, and the example. I mean, there's like there people are really worried about appearances. It's like, oh my God, the government covered it up and did all this stuff and
Yeah.
bad things. And it's like, and then what? Is anyone going to be punished? Nobody's ever punished in these things. So it's like,
No.
what are they afraid of?
In the government?
Well, they're afraid.
What's the
What are they afraid of? Say, oh, okay, yeah, we covered this stuff up. I mean, they're afraid. Are they still afraid that people are going to freak out, or it's going to cause a religious
Yeah.
uprising, and they will get canceled?
There's nothing to prove that they knew, in my opinion, that if they destroy all of the evidence, which would have been fairly easy, is that nothing can be found, and all we're sitting around with our, stuff in our hand and while telling these folklore stories, and
Myths.
doing AI, and we're not
Yeah.
going to have a shred of proof. There's not a shred of proof anywhere, and because that's the smartest thing. Think about it. If you or I, if we were the government, we were Truman. What are you going to say to do with that stuff? Are you going to say, make sure you put it in a crate and stick it in a warehouse so we can, once you're done doing but there is the reverse engineering aspect of things,
That
obviously.
is that is critical. And the
You know, That's the only reason I think
The
maybe we have the saucer.
the
But I
the
think the
biology, the bodies
we
would be
got what we needed out if there was bodies, and sounds like there was. We got rid of we got what we could get.
you're fading. I'm gonna pause it. All right, we're back. It should be working.
All right. Well, so we're still talking about Roswell.
Yeah. We'll finish up on
And,
Roswell, and then we'll hit
yeah,
Omni. We'll come back to Omni next week again.
sounds good.
So, so you think that most of the stuff has been destroyed, or I think that, yeah, that could be a
The
possibility.
purpose of keeping it, and I mean, this as we've waded through this week after week and year after year, day after day, why keep it? Except for the reverse engineering aspect of the saucer. And I think once we got what we needed, we may never get everything we need out of that because we're smart, but we're not that smart.
Will it be distributed, sent to places, put in storage for future analysis?
Yeah.
It's the same thing they do with the moon rocks. They have moon samples that they've never opened. They're
Right.
because they just want to wait to sample it. I guess it was easier than going back. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure that the whatever was distributed, the biological samples, put in formaldehyde and sent all over the place and to the appropriate people to look at. And all the biological stuff, the technology has changed enormously since the 1940s. And you could come back into that stuff decade after decade and make new discoveries.
Right.
So
So it's somewhere, but what is this? So somebody
a
knows
jar.
what that
A
is.
jar. What is that?
But think of it. There's people that know this is a piece of an alien. I mean, it's just, I think we're very paranoid back in 40s.
Well, they could say it's it's just anything for analysis. Just give it to a
But
lab.
what would be so then you discover something, and how do you apply one thing to the other?
Well, it's top secret.
It's just a piece of.
You can do analysis. You can do analysis on biological material without having to. I mean, if a laboratory is doing it, like the Batil Institute, they just bring in contract people and recruit people to do the work. Back then, you could do all sorts of analysis and stuff. You write up a report. You don't need to know a lot of specifics. It's just at the biological level, you're looking at the tissue, you're looking at the structure of the tissue, you're looking at you're doing microscopic examination, you're doing chemical analysis. It's all sort of basic science. It's not until the 1970s and 80s where you started doing the molecular biology. And if they had stored the material properly, you could come in and do
in the formaldehyde.
Yeah, I think the formaldehyde is a bad idea. But if you would store the material, if you just froze it,
what did they put it in 54? Do you think they froze it?
I think they had, if they had liquid nitrogen, the best thing was just to freeze it in liquid nitrogen. And if they had done that, you can come back and do all sorts of analysis. I seriously doubt in 1947 if they had aliens that they would put anything in liquid nitrogen. Everything would go in formaldehyde.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you didn't have the tools that were developed in the 70s, 80s, the molecular biology tools, which is what I was trained on and stuff. You don't invented by the brilliant Carrie Mullis, who nobody appreciates.
They cut these things up, put them in jars.
Put them in jars of formaldehyde, which is.
We don't care about the muscular skeletal. We've done what we can with the muscular skeletal portion of them.
Big jars.
Now we're looking at tissue. Now we're just dropping the tissue.
You take all the organs out. You take the brain out. You take the eyes out. You put everything in jars, and then the rest of it. If they were smart, you do a dissection of one, and then another one. You just I would just freeze the whole thing. You could get dry. They could freeze everything in dry ice. I think they had dry ice back then.
Dry ice. I don't think we're smart. I don't think we're smart about that back then. I think they would have just nuked it, not nuked it,
formaldehyde.
Whatever.
I have a feeling, yeah.
No, they would have just burned the bodies, and they would have just destroyed the little pieces of metal and kept some of it. The field of metal.
No, I think they would. I think they would keep the whole thing.
If they can't destroy it, they may not be able to destroy
if
it.
they,
It's
yeah,
like impervious to anything.
well, it blew up into little pieces, so it is
Yeah,
impervious to
but then
something.
yes, yeah. I mean, you could
Something's doing.
pulverize. You could probably shred it or do something with it, I suppose,
It's
and then put it somewhere.
well, think of it if they had recovered a Soviet fighter jet. I mean, they're gonna salvage and keep every piece of that in storage for analysis and future analysis down to the molecular level. And I think it would be the same thing with this. It's just you don't have to keep everything together. You can scatter it all over the place.
Soviet jet isn't going to destroy the very government
Fabric.
perception. I mean, I see what you're saying, but this is so much different. It's we're showing that such a lack of trust in what the government does.
The government has always had that lack of trust, and they've increased it. Look at the revelation that anything that's developed through the UAP program, the official UFO program at the Pentagon, now everything is going to be classified. The FOA, Freedom of Information stuff has been completely neutered.
It's meaningless.
It's completely neutered. You can't. I mean, I mean, the guy that does it, the guy that does the Black Vault, has brilliant. He's doing a brilliant job, but he's looking for mistakes. He's looking for a word that's or structure. He's looking for everything is blacked out. Plus, as I discovered when I was looking at the executive order by Ronald Reagan, they don't even have to tell you it exists. So if anything that they think is going to be controversial or cause problems, all of a sudden you just, okay, this is classified. Then it doesn't even exist. You don't have to tell them you have it.
Think of it though, with people that are doing, somebody sees it because the people that are doing the redaction are seeing the memo and making these decisions. So somebody knows about all this stuff. It doesn't redact itself. So it's like, somebody knows about all this.
No,
at least knows what's written.
You're taking it a step to the redaction level. The stuff that's really maybe critical. They're going to look at it before it's redacted, and they're just going to say, "This is never."
Who's looking at it? Who's looking at it?
Who don't know?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, who knows
who that guy is? But it's
some guy. He's a
somebody
little guy.
Knows.
Little guy.
Somebody knows, and somebody knows there's probably. Yeah, I know he's this tall. He's got gray skin. So somebody knows where we're putting this stuff.
Well, you're
somebody somewhere, and there's a document somewhere.
Yeah, and then the person that looks at it's going to look at this, and he says, "This is never going out."
Yeah,
and he takes
it to his grave.
His whole livelihood, his pension, he can't tell anybody because he's going to look at it and say, "Okay, this document is not classified, but it's so mind-blowing, it's now classified," and they don't even have to say they have it. So Freedom of Information Act is useless. The UFO UIP program, everything is going to be classified, which means they don't have to acknowledge the existence of the documents, and it will never be released. So it's any sort of investigation is up to private individuals, and it's like the Project Open Book with Omni, which I wish I'd subscribed to Omni in '94. I mean, I love the magazine. I used to look at it in the 80s, but I really wish I'd subscribed to it. I would have, I probably would have looked at this and said, what are they doing? They're losing their minds.
Yeah.
And at that time, I said, this is just crap. What are they doing?
Looks like just a bunch of nonsense at
that
point.
Yeah. I would have looked at it and said, oh, this is just a waste of my time.
We didn't care back then.
I didn't. Especially at that time when I was a graduate student, I was just going to look, I go, no, this is beyond, this is idiocracy. Yeah. I was full into, I idolized Carl Sagan. I'd been to several talks by him, been close enough to smell the weed and patchouli on him. So, I was full one with the body.
Yep.
So, and the, what else have they got? Oh, the protector, the nurse. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out when we get more into the Project Open book. If they have something by the nurse, I'll look in this book that I have, Witness to Roswell.
Yep.
Which is A really good book. The most current book, I think. Well, they also talked about Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Exxon coming back to the Roswell Final Verdict show, and he gave like a deathbed. He's in this book, but I haven't read about him. They showed his picture. I said, my notes say he has crazy eyes.
Oh, Exxon.
Yeah,
Exxon.
Exxon. And they say that there was a cover up because they're worried about people were panicking, and I guess he released some sort of deathbed confession.
Yeah.
And then they talked about Majestic 12. Well, I'm not really sure why. Majestic 12 is pretty much isn't considered not to be real.
Yeah, well, they say it's 6 military and 6 civilians.
Yeah, I don't know.
The 12, and of course these guys know everything, and then nobody says anything. Well, the one, just except for
The guy that jumped out the window.
the guy that jumped. What was his name? He had an
Forrester?
aircraft carrier name.
Was it Forrester?
Forrestal?
Forrestal.
Yeah, it was Forrestal. And he, he was the one that ended up. They committed him. I think they committed him. I'm going to go conspiracy.
He was.
They say he just went crazy, and so they committed him. And the smart thing to do is put him on the 14th floor with the window being able to be open.
He got a Russian promotion.
When you're crazy.
He got a Russian promotion.
Yeah, he tried to hang himself by dropping out the window, putting a sheet probably around his neck, and then the sheet broke, and he ended up just dying of gravity, hitting the ground.
Yeah, there's that has something going on there.
Yeah, that was weird because that was the second suicide thing. There was another one.
Huh.
Another guy got committed.
The reporter from the station in Roswell got sent to a mental hospital.
Committed.
Yeah.
He committed, meaning the government put you in.
He got a Russian promotion too.
Yeah, and
The Russia used to do that with political dissenters. They'd say that you were nuts, and they'd send you to a mental hospital.
Yeah.
So he got a promotion. Looking up this reporter that they talked about, Jack Rodden, which I said he's false. Jack Jr. called it out to Roswell, said they killed it. I'm not seeing him in this. Jack Rodden.
Yeah, the son of the reporter.
Yeah.
Said he didn't. He might have been somebody trying to grab attention. One of those things.
Reference Sooner cryptically exclaimed several times to his son at the time of the incident or soon afterwards, they killed it.
Yeah, he was the photographer. He's like...
was he the guy that went into the tent where they would say you focus on the flashlight and then take a picture without looking?
I don't know if it was that guy. Well, he might have been. This guy, the son said he went out in the middle of the night in 40, at that time in 47, and then he came back and allegedly they said they killed it because there was only one alive, one extraterrestrial alive. And then they could have discovered that these were, us from the future.
That's right.
And there could have been documents that they found in the spacecraft that was actually, pretty intact.
Documents.
And then, documents that
paperback
were not,
books.
not paperback books, probably something in the computer or whatever.
Printed lightly.
That showed that we were from the future and it was us.
Yes.
I don't know. These look more like, I feel like they're small, and I don't know. You never know what's going to happen in hundreds of thousands of years. This could be just people from the future. And they figured that out, and how would you feel that? I wouldn't care.
Baby
body. But there's people out there that if you found out that you looked like that in the future, they might freak out.
Well, I mean, yeah, if I knew that I was going to look like that in the future, I'd probably be upset.
But we're going to be dead, so we're not going to matter.
But I want a giant head and a little tiny body.
I want to know that hundreds of thousands of years in the future that I'm going to look just like this.
Oh, Well, and then the Roswell thing, they talked about the 50th anniversary of Roswell. They released that report, Roswell case closed. And talked about Project Mogul, and then explained the bodies as test dummies, where everyone was saying, but the test dummies were 10 years later or something.
Yeah, dumb. We just can't let it go. It's this Project Mogul shit.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to Roswell. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to read, which eventually maybe we'll get to. I mean,
Yeah.
I've only read the original Roswell book by I can't remember the guy's name, but he's the same guy that did the original Bermuda Triangle book, and so there's a lot more to dive into. And I would like to read those the debunking reports put out by the 300-page debunking reports put out by the Air Force. That's going to be some nice bedtime reading.
Oh, absolutely.
So we should wrap it up and see how this goes.
All right. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook and at our website, alienprobe.net, Twitter and Instagram, alienprobepod. We're on all podcast platforms. Just put in the Alien Probe Podcast and we will pop right up to the top. Also, like and subscribe on the Alien Probe Podcast on youtube.com. Thanks again to senior producer Robert Anthony, and of course, Dr. Bill.
Yes,
Who helped me with my
Vietnam
knee
Bob.
diagnosis.
Yes, Vietnam Bob and
Vietnam Bob.
yeah.
See you next week.
Good luck with your knee. Watch the skies, everybody.
Watch the skies.